I'll sit here since I'm a bit farther away.
Take
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're on the latest episode of the Unhinged podcast. We're trying something a little bit different today. I have two people here that I happen to have known for a little bit. We have Abe.
Hello, Clay.
How's it going? And then we have the Executioner is what his football team calls him. We have, but
I've never played football in my life.
Okay, yeah, well, those are his credentials when he came here. So now he's just here, and I'm too much of a pussy to make him leave. But I was just wondering if we wanted to just go around real fast. What have you guys been playing recently? If we wanted to just hop right into that, what game is in it? Because for me personally, I always have a game that's in the back of my mind that I'm thinking about a little bit right now. It's Tangle Deep, and sometimes it's Final Fantasy VII Remake. Those are the two that I'm juggling between right now. So if you guys had a game in the back of your mind that you're thinking about a little bit right now, what is it?
Recently I've actually been playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Clay. The old Super Nintendo game.
On the Switch? On the Switch thing?
Yeah, the Switch thing, like where it lets you play all those old games. It's pretty dope. It's one of those like games that when you first play it, you assume is like unfairly bananas hard. And I hate to make this comparison, but it's like that kind of thing where if Dark Souls, where it's like,
oh man, we were less than 3 minutes in. We've already.
I know. But the thing is, it just requires your attention. It's like one of those things where it's like I compare it to that. It's like everyone says Dark Souls is hard. It's not really hard as much as it requires your respect. Is all.
Well, when I see Ghouls and Ghosts, it looks like a Mario Maker level where someone stuffed in as much enemies as they could.
Oh hell yeah!
And they uploaded it, and they said, "How is it?" That's how I feel.
Yeah.
100%. I thought you were going to go with like. So at first, this game seems like this unfair bullshit thing, and then you play it, and it turns out it is.
Oh yeah. Well, there is also just some horseshit. What was crazy is like I was watching some speedruns on GDQ for it, and like. People who literally lives are like to make this game as efficient as possible. It's like, oh yeah, the RNG just might fuck you. They're just like, oh yeah, I might just die here.
Isn't that what the Doom people like? You have some Doom speedrunners that all they do is they try and do one level with like the RNG turned off or something because it's just that bad. Like those, because apparently like you build momentum in the first Doom when you don't bump into something for a while.
Well, you say the first Doom. Are you talking about like Doom from like '93? Or are we talking like Doom 2016?
93.
Oh, so that game has RNG? I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure it does, yeah. Like, the way enemies spawn, right?
I don't believe so. I could be wrong. I'm no Doom expert, but I've played it a lot, and to my knowledge, enemies are always in the same positions every time. The only, like, time you ever really get RNG, to my knowledge, is when you enter a room and they get activated, and then you could have, potential monster infighting. Obviously when they start moving, there's kind of, but a lot of that game... There's a guy on YouTube, name escapes me, but he does a ton of Doom videos, and he breaks down the nitty-gritty, how everything's coded.
Oh, no, fucking dude.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The yellow screen in the background and all that. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Those fucking videos are rad.
No, Abe was telling me that, like, way back when you made a first-person shooting thing, it was just called a Doom clone. Like, it wasn't an idea to be a genre. And Souls-likes might be going through a similar thing right now.
Well... a lot of the reason it became Doom clone instead of Wolfenstein clone, because, Wolfenstein was before Doom, and then there was, name escapes me, but one before Wolfenstein even, but obviously Doom was the one that really kind of, like, popularized the genre, but at the same time, too, there were a lot of games that used the same engine at the time. You got, like, Heretic is quite literally a Doom clone. It's on the exact same engine as Doom.
Is that the one where you have a wand?
Yeah, Heretic fucking rules.
Yeah, you got lots of different wands. And then, like, after that it gets kind of muddy for me, but, like, a lot of them are very similar. Like, you get, like, Hexen. I think the first Hexen might have also been on ID's engine. But then after that you get into, like, your build engine stuff with your,
And that's where the money is. That's where the bitches are.
It's true.
That's where they reside. I remember way back when someone converted all of those Doom-like games into Flash for Newgrounds. And so you could just go on Newgrounds and play Doom or Heretic, and it's just all there.
God, Flash is so cool.
No, it really is. And I think that Flash, like, how cool Flash was kind of hijacked by, well, Flash dying, and then just, like, the indie scene on Steam, where people now have this paywall to get into your game. Whereas before, you could just download the Fancy Pants Adventures. Well, not even download it, just play it in your browser, and you liked it, and if it was good enough, it got an Xbox Live Arcade release. But now, it's kind of bigger than that.
The closest thing I can of a current thing to the Flash era was, and this it's not even current anymore. But do you guys remember the Xbox Live indie marketplace where like that's where you could get like I made a game with zombies. It was like all these
treasure trove of
But dude, you could find some good shit on there, and like it would all be like a fucking $1.
They were all Minecraft clones for the longest time. It was like Minecraft with guns. That's what the section was.
But dude, and like obviously it was a ton of trash because I think like I would have to imagine putting like a game on Xbox Live Arcade was probably like a harder thing, but I have to imagine for like the indie marketplace they just like anyone put anything on there, similar to how Steam is now weirdly.
Yeah, just the shovelware titles. Yeah. You know, it's like I guess the thing is like they're all like kind of like this. In a way, it's not like I'm saying they're bad, but they're all just like the same kind of like pile of shit. But some of that shit, you know, I'm just saying, some of that shit is shapely.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes
you dig enough, you get some gold in that shit.
Get a little corn in there.
You know, that gold's enough to keep you going. Like everyone, I think, has owned that one or two just like super polished, you know, like diamond of turds in the pile of turd that was just like the. Let's take a PNG and have a few different moving parts to it and make a game out of it, you know, and it's just super funny to play. Regardless of what it was, quality-wise, it was a fun time, nonetheless, and you weren't out that much money, you know, and it's like you kind of know what you're getting into.
And ironic value aside, a lot of times there was just actually some just legit, just good video games there.
Like, straight up, yeah, no, I mean, like, I made a game with zombies in it. Everyone knows that one. That kind of comes to mind.
Oh, I didn't know you knew that one.
Oh, yeah, no,
It's awesome.
That was a big one back growing up, or,
Cthulhu Saves the World. That's how I first played that game. Not on Steam, but like on the Xbox Live Indie Marketplace.
It's an RPG Maker game, right?
It's probably. I don't fucking know.
It's gotta be.
It's possible because of how modifiable the engine is, but you know, at the same time too, maybe this guy actually had talent.
Yeah, maybe.
Made his own.
What kind of gross, disgusting creature would use RPG Maker?
Me.
I'm way too
because I'm not talented.
I feel like so. This is a question that I kind of wanted to really touch on. Was that this is some like not just with weird indie games, but do you think the critic mindset makes it annoying to play games? So, for example, when I was a kid, I didn't have all these questions pop into my head when I played a game. I just enjoyed it. But now when I fire up a game, my mind goes, "Oh, does that feel good? Oh, does that feel good? Oh, is the story good? Did that person say the story was good? Did this person?" And now there's like all these questions popping in my head, and I don't even have a choice whether or not they're there. They just pop up, and I can't feel alone with a game anymore. I think of the internet and the reviews, and I really need to try going in blind with something, because now every time I'm with a game, I feel like it's been passed around a bazillion people before it's made its way to me, and I don't have just this one-to-one non-biased view anymore.
Well,
Does anyone else feel that way?
I will say this to you, Clay, that and this is in social media. I find like the more times where I separate myself from social media, I felt better, and I would feel like probably the same for your hobbies as well, where it's like if you just getting a disconnect from like what 1,000 people are looking at and just worry about yourself. Because every time whenever I decide I'm not going to look at Twitter every single day, I'm not going to go on YouTube every single day and just do the things I actually enjoy, I'm usually happier. But then I'll just go back into that hole for some no apparent goddamn reason.
It's very easy. Definitely.
Everyone wants to go back to like that kind of awe when you're a kid and everything's just like amazing, you know, like that jump from like Sega Genesis to N64 with like GoldenEye. First time I saw that at my friend's house way back when I was like 5 years old. Shit blew my mind. Or like when I first got the Dreamcast and I saw like Dead or Alive 2, like again, shit blew my mind, you know, and it's just that's like the last memory I have of that. I guess VR was like the last memory I have. The most recent memory is getting into VR for the first time kind of made me feel like a kid again for a short amount of time. I mean, you grow up, you get older. When you get older, obviously you get more critical, and I don't think there's anything like wrong with that. I don't really think it undermines anything. I mean, no, either way, your thoughts are going to be riddled with either whether or not it's excitement or whether or not it's just, you know, being kind of like jaded for, like, you know, it's not like a word I want to use, but just critical, jaded, you know, you kind of like, the more you've seen and experienced shit and you go back and play this newer stuff, of course, you know, you're kind of like, we're kind of creatures of comparison, so you're going to start making comparisons, you know, about whether or not it feels better or worse than other things, but I mean, it really does just come down to like whether or not you know, in a sense, allow yourself to be persuaded by like the pool of reviews and critics and whatnot, you know, whereas like obviously, like, going in blind can certainly help, but, you know, at the same time, too, it's kind of like either you're open to being changed by someone else's viewpoint, or you're not until you've, you know, you're someone who it's very easy for you to get, I guess, persuaded by other people's viewpoints instead of just sticking with your own. And I mean, there's nothing like necessarily like wrong with that in a way, you know. Yes, it is like kind of it sucks, sure, but and there's no like real way of just I'm gonna snap my fingers and suddenly no longer be, you know, I'm not gonna be persuaded at all by anyone else's like loudmouth viewpoint on something, but
Right.
But I don't know. I don't necessarily think it is like a bad thing that we're getting more critical because you know it's okay to kind of like call out things that you're not really a fan of.
It's good. I think I'm just in it a little bit to an unhealthy obsessive state.
A little.
Although I will say it falls off once you play the game for a bit and you can just dissolve into the groove of it. That's what I've been doing with Hades. I think I have like 300 hours in that. Now I can just turn it on and get into a groove instead of thinking of all these questions and annoying things.
Well, Clay, you're better than like I was actually telling the Executioner this today. Where I had a I know.
It's weird that people call him that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean you just go into the fucking grocery store and they're like, "Hail!" But
I have been known to do that.
I had a friend back when I was in middle school who I'm sure we all know what G4 is, right?
Sadly.
Yeah, the channel G4. There was a show called X-Play, and X-Play obviously did video game reviews.
I remember them.
And I had a friend who X-Play would by no means there's no like super bunny hop level of quality, but my friend treated it as though it was.
That was his guide for everything that he bought.
And I remember before Prototype 1 came out, me and him were just talking about it constantly, so excited, looking at every trailer, talking about every trailer. And then X-Play comes out with a review of it, and it was 3 stars out of 5. And I still remember the day whenever I got to class with him, and he was like, "Oh man, too bad about Prototype, right?" And I'm like, "Dude, this game rules." I don't know why. Like,
he's like, "No, I can't like it. I can't." My gospel said it was.
Adam Sessler told me it was bad, so I can't like it.
I remember Adam Sessler. He put out a really calm and collected view about how video games don't cause violence back when that was really big, which was refreshing because you see a lot of video game people where the instant they say video games cause violence, they kind of lose their shit. But Adam Sessler he just went on a normal ass news program and he just kind of laid it out for them in a way that was really articulate and tasteful. And I was like, huh, okay, that was nice. From G4, no less.
I don't know if it was any good, but as a kid I used to watch, like, I think it was kind of like a podcast of his, where I think it was called Adam Sessler's Soapbox. It was back when he worked for G4, and it was just him be talking about video game industry and shit.
Oh, yeah, that sounds
He
familiar.
seemed like I don't know how people like him nowadays, but I mean, I always seemed like he seemed like a pretty cool dude.
Is it weird that people who aren't relevant, they don't just dissipate into dust? What was her name? Miley Cyrus is still alive. Like, isn't that weird that you and me don't care about her, so she still lives? Isn't that crazy? Like, shouldn't the people we don't care about not be around anymore?
She should turn into dust. You're correct.
Yeah.
Very Avengers just snap.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, no, that should totally be the case. So, like, the Adam Sessler thing reminded me, where it's like, oh, we talked about Adam Sessler. Oh, he's probably still around. He doesn't just die when G4 is...
Well, he's definitely still around. He was in Death Stranding.
I wonder...
He was?
Yes.
What?
Really?
No, he wasn't. What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's in Death Stranding.
I think you're thinking of the fucking
Spike
TV Awards dude.
That guy.
You're thinking of that video
guy.
game personality.
Yeah, they're all
not
the same
my
guy.
video game personality.
They're country singers. They have like a total of maybe 3 singers that do country music. They all sound the fucking same to me.
Yeah, you're right. I talk about video games. I also talk about video games.
It's either you're that or you decide to get rid of your left nut and do skits with your...
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
We all enjoy skits in our video game reviews, right?
Do we?
I enjoy skits. I enjoy skits outside of video game reviews, but when I hear the word skit, I get very scared because I know only 20% of it is going to be good, unless it's like Whitest Kids You Know, and then maybe 40%.
But that's all a skit. It's not a review. That's just the whole thing is a skit. It's.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's just skit videos. I mean, when you put skits into other things, there's a very fine line, and I wouldn't even argue it's a line. It's like there's this very fine breadcrumb thing that sort of divides the point of you have a skit and then it's just holy shit, you're either too cringy or too annoying or too whatever for your own good. Let's skip forward 5 minutes. Like, just thank God for that little scroll my mouse along the YouTube video bar and see the little...
I will say, to be back on topic.
Abe, you and me talk about how we hate skits in videos all the time.
But here's the reason why. It's almost like when you watch a video, you would like it to be of a consistent format. So you're watching a video about someone going into a in-depth review of, I don't know, let's just say Mario Sunshine, and it's like, oh yeah, he's talking about the mechanics, all that, and then suddenly he's like, oh wait a minute, someone's at my door. Oh, other popular YouTuber Gribble Scoops, you're here?
It's like,
wait, why are you wearing a Mario Sunshine costume?
He's going to tell me whether the 3D All-Stars collection is a good package or not. Why is this video 40 minutes? Oh, because him and all his friends are dressing up as Mario characters and saying dumb shit that I don't want to listen to for 40 minutes on end. That's why.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, no, I think I like this. I mean, I hate this feeling that a lot of aspiring YouTubers have where they have to be this really cartoony, obnoxious thing just to get noticed. And that extends to reaction videos in a more obvious way, I think. Like, people see Steve in Minecraft and they, like, throw their goddamn chair across the room. I recorded my reaction to that. And I tried to keep it genuine. I wasn't a Looney Tunes character, hopping between the floor and the ceiling, making a crack in the wall. That wasn't me. I was genuinely surprised. I thought it was funny. I wasn't disappointed. I thought it was neat. But I think I'm not successful in this domain yet by any means. But
you're not throwing your chair across the room when Steve gets announced in Smash. That's why.
That's a good point. That's a good point. The execution.
Take that autism dial up to 11.
To 11, maybe even 12 even.
Yeah, no.
That's where the skits are.
But if I have to do the slow and steady path of perseverance, where I slowly and steadily break into the algorithm by not throwing my chair across the room, if the 12 people listening to this want to see me throw a chair across the room, watch me play God of War 3 fighting the Scorpion.
First off, 12, a little high standards, but okay.
Whoa, I thought you were humble now.
Also, I would actually go as far even above the skits and just say people get used to a certain voice. Like, if I'm... Okay, for instance, there was a review for Tunerific. He's a YouTube guy that does, like, these cartoons. Way too often... And, like, I like his face. Way too often he will get a guest appearance on there to have someone else talk with him. For instance, there was actually a part in this thing where he was reviewing, like, just a cartoon I saw as a kid that was called Braceface. And he's like, and now I'd like to talk about this one part in the show. But luckily, I won't have to because I got an expert on the subject, so-and-so and so. And it's like... but I'm not here for so-and-so and so. I'm here for you. I don't want to hear this other person's voice who's probably, like, not even, like, used to talking on a mic.
Well, I understand that to a degree. You have, Shadversity is a good channel, and he appears on, Hello Future Me is a channel I watch, and he had a moment where he appeared to explain how medieval weapons actually work, and I thought that was to the video's benefit, not to the video's detriment.
I think the detriment comes in when you have this persona you put for online, and you get a guest character who tries to make jokes in the way that you make jokes. I think that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. It's again, just people insert... It's fine to add a dash of personality, but you have people who fall into the same trites and tropes of, like, oh, how did you get in this video? Or how are you here? And you hear the same jokes over and over again through all of these YouTube crossovers. And... they somehow have no idea that you've heard it 7 other times already.
And also, to show you how correct we are, all 3 of us are managers of successful YouTube channels with how things to do it. So it's like, this clearly shows you that we know what the hell we're talking about.
We are not telling you how to have a successful YouTube channel microphone. He is. I'm not telling you how to have a successful YouTube channel. I'm telling you that we've heard stuff at least for me, I've heard stuff over and over again that makes me sympathize with people who can inflict self-harm. Now, here's the thing. Some of you might say that's a distasteful joke. Well, let me tell you, I'm not joking. I'm not. It's that bad.
I like how that makes it not distasteful anymore. It's like, you got us. Like there's like a detective like just slamming a desk. Damn it. We had him. Had him by the balls.
It's always been that way too, though. I mean, it's just people kind of figure out what the algorithm really just has that hard on for. Like I'm talking like Morning Wood hard on, and then everyone, of course, you want the views, of course you want the subscribers and the likes and the fucking bell and
The money.
whatever, the moolah.
And the bell.
Yeah, no, you want all that stuff. So of course, if YouTube 1 week is just like, all right, Cheez-Its and buttholes, that's what we're looking for. Everyone and their mother is going to be putting Cheez-Its in their buttholes, and you better not do cheese nips, because that's no.
And well, also just I have like little siblings. I know some of you guys have like maybe like nephews. How many of them do you see like on YouTube? Like I mean like clearly like there's like a different market people are like fighting for where it's like, you know,
What my nephew's atmosphere or stratoscope of YouTube is completely different from mine. He sees all these TikTok videos with really attractive women in them, and I think he watches the video not knowing that's why he's watching it. But his algorithm, if you look at the recommended videos, it's all Fortnite, and it's all attractive TikTokers.
anytime I see my little brother watching a YouTube video, it's like maybe a Let's Play is always by someone who's being way louder than they need to be.
That's right. Hey,
Because it's funny, he's loud.
To his defense, it is hilarious.
here's the thing. Tell me whatever you want. Tell me whatever you want about the president trying to get rid of TikTok. Anyone who tries to get rid of TikTok is a friend of mine.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of things to say about Trump, but he did try and get rid of what did you say, Clay? What was it? Those kids from school that are super fucking annoying.
The theater kids?
Oh yeah, fuck them. Holy shit. Anything that hurts theater kids is a friend of mine, you know what I mean?
God bless America.
Like if Trump was like, yes, and today I guess he's Nixon, or not Nixon, but Reagan. But if Reagan got rid of all the theater kids, you know, thank God, you know, good for him.
You gotta have like the talent to have the jowls. It's like,
Oh yeah, I mean, like he didn't get elected for nothing. I mean, they saw those jowls swinging back and forth, and they're just like,
Yeah, they saw the beads of
what
sweat.
they
running
didn't
down
know
his
is
skin.
that with him came a load of scandals.
a lot of scandal.
Oh man. In a desperate attempt to make sure this podcast remains vaguely about video games,
Is that what we're
I'm going... Yeah, no, isn't that crazy? It's easy to forget. Just because YouTube personalities are so bad, it's easy to get thrown off the rails. I was gonna just ask the two of you if there's anything just that sits in the back of your mind when you're playing a video game and it ruins it for you. And that's very broad, so I'm gonna give an example. I was playing Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning, and I really enjoyed it. But I saw that not only were health potions in that game cheap, they don't have a cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
So now, when I play it, I'm still gonna enjoy it. If I have to impose rules on myself, sure. But now, in the back of my head, when I play that game, there is this persistent, bothersome feeling that I could technically buy 60 health potions and go to something 20 levels above me and just spam that and complete it that way. And that, to me, diminishes a lot of value out of just... It's kind of like just God mode as the normal game. Like, the game could have been built better in such a way that I had to worry about the risk. Like, because that's it. Lots of games feel better when you have that risk of losing stuff. So what I'm asking you two is there any particular thing in a game that you might see more often than you'd like, where when you see that, you're like, this ruins it a little bit for me?
My thing's less mechanical, but I legit hate like seeing like marketplace stuff and like where to buy shit. Like I like for instance, you know how like on Windows 10 you'll hit the start menu and you can just see fucking ads. I hate seeing anything that makes me feel less like I own the shit that I bought. You know what I mean? It's like
they're invading your personal space.
Yeah, it's like what the fuck, dude? Like I bought
like
this game. Why is there
Was it the Wii U that turned on its own and on the screen on the controller, and it would just show you ads on the eShop every now and again, like even in the middle of the night?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Just like
Never had that happen.
What about you, Executioner?
There's...
I know you hate those anime characters that are really stupid. I know that. That's less mechanical, but I know it is.
I mean, there's
That's
nitpicks
based.
you can have with, like, any game. Whatever. For me... Man, I don't know. Just... It depends on the game, kind of, right? Like, if it's, like, something like... Because I can't just say, like, this is one thing that I hate, period, in games. Because, like, I can't just say, I hate platforming, right? Like, platforming's not my kind of game, but yes, I hate it maybe more so in something like Devil May Cry 1 or like 4 because, you know, like you have a fixed camera angle and you're trying to platform on stupidly small things, but Mario does it great. Or, hey, you know, like, maybe in this, like, shooting game it has a dumb story, but I don't really care because it's not what it's about. But then I play a game like The Last of Us 2 that is all about, you know, story juxtaposed with your gameplay, and then the story makes no goddamn sense. And, like, I hate, you know, it
And I understand that, but isn't there some things that are just so bad that even if they're broad, no matter what context they're interwoven into, they will still be bad. For example, no cooldown on health potions and them being
is not bad because you can have a game balanced around that. Diablo 2 is one good example. I mean, yes, there's the whole like, oh, I feel like I'm cheating, but here's the thing, I like being able to, not that saying that this is, but I like being able to think outside of the box in games. A lot of older games
It's not very creative to just buy 40 potions.
I mean, no, it isn't very creative, but it's an option. That's my thing. Like, oh, you're not supposed to go here, but I can. That's what I like. I like that. I don't feel like, oh, I'm like, this is really taking away my experience when I can kind of break the game, and it opens things up.
What's weird is, like, I agree probably more so with Clay, but I actually do like your thing execution where it's like, you can actually have fun with, like, it's like so it's a broken feature to make it to where you can just have unlimited potions and then just be able to spam it. Well, but you were able to find a fun version of that where it's like, well,
that's true.
Let me kind of find a way to break this. But I would still say I'm more on Clay's side.
There is a magic feeling though when you find that. For example, you know, probably comments if this is incorrect, but I think with Hollow Knight they had a thing where you needed to unlock the double jump to progress to the first Hornet fight. But what they found was you could lure a flying enemy to a certain thing, to a certain area on the map, and you could actually attack above it and get to the ledge without getting the double jump. And when they patched it, they did not get rid of it. They kept it, and they added special dialogue for it. So there is a magic feeling to, like, and I think Mario Odyssey capitalizes on this a lot, where you'll do like 40 awesome trick jumps in a row because you're a young adult that still plays video games instead of someone discovering Mario for the first time, and they'll put a stack of coins in a really hard to reach place. So it's fun to not only break a game, but know that the developers are kind of giving you a little pat on the back. I don't think that's what Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning or even Reckoning was trying to do with giving you 40 potions. I think that was just them being...
Oh, sure, it's a safety net, and it's not creative or anything like that, but again, like you said before, it kind of goes down to like how the game is designed as game balance, you know. I don't think it's a problem with the health potions necessarily. That's more of a problem with game balance. If you're gonna have no cooldown on potions, you need to have a reason for that.
You know, some caveat.
However, thinking about it though, because it's very hard to say one thing that any game, because like most games don't all do the same thing. That's what kind of makes them special. That's why we play a bunch of different games, even if they do similar things. They aren't like. But one thing that any game does, one of the fastest ways to get me annoyed, unskippable logos at like 20, 30 seconds of unskippable, or pure white loading screens. You're playing your game at whatever, 2, 3 a.m., whatever, the lights are off, it's just loading, you're like, ah, my eyes, fuck, why?
I hate a loading screen that doesn't like have some moving object, because like, I remember as a kid, just like, so is it frozen?
Well, that's
what, is it loading? I don't know.
That's why all these loading screens are spiral patterns that are constantly moving, so you don't have that fear.
Well, if you're on a console, you know when it's loading because the thing sounds like it's trying to do a fucking triathlon inside of it.
Yeah, like there's like little.
You can hear the disc just like, you know, it's like a cancer patient trying its hardest to pull through to get your game running. But speaking of like loading screens and stuff, I like interactive loading screens. Like there's a game on PS1. It's Fantastic Four. It's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up with a amazing orgasmic jazz soundtrack. Love it. But
it's obviously about the Marvel heroes, right?
But the loading screen, because it's up to 4 players, is like literally like a mini like racing game. Like you actually play like a racing game.
Awesome.
That's every loading screen, and it's just like you and your 4 friends or like your 3 other buddies can like race each other on the loading screen. Like it's so cool.
You know, Namco has a patent on that. There's a reason why you don't see that so much in video games.
Really?
Yeah.
I would never have guessed.
I guess people just don't do this anymore because it's stupid. But back in the day, people used to have patents on gameplay ideas. Like the only one,
like the Crazy Taxi Green Arrow.
The fucking Crazy Taxi Green Arrow. But like Because I remember, I think BioShock got in trouble for having something like that in there, which is so fucking stupid to put like a patent on video game like ideas. But once again, I think a lot of times you see shit like this at the beginning because people aren't sure what the rules are yet.
I now own alcohol. You can no longer have alcohol in your game.
It's so weird.
All your alcohol are belong to me now.
And I could be wrong, but still feel free to get mad at me if I am.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's but the best loading screen in any game though, is the Bayonetta games, because you can just it's literally just a vessel for trying out the combos.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think one of the these games actually were made by Namco, so I guess it makes sense. The DBZ Budokai loading screens had like you could like make a bunch of green symbiote man by like shaking the analog sticks back and forth really fast.
The Saiyamen.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I call them symbiote. No, symbiotes are Spider-Man. The Spider-Man monster.
Saiyamen. I don't know.
What are you saying?
Well, the thing about lots of anime games is anime games, especially Dragon Ball Z games, are obsessed with telling the same tale over and over again, which I think is something Berserk has suffered from also. Where
and
like
having 8 Gokus.
Yeah, no, it's a slippery slope for sure. Where it's like tell me a new tale instead of telling the same tale that's been told over and over and over and over. It gets very grating very fast.
I mean, how many Naruto Ultimate Shippuden those like fucking those like really like jank 3D brawlers? How many of those came out just because they just there's a little bit more anime now, we'll make another game. Well, there's a little bit more anime now, we'll make another game. Oh, Boruto is a thing now.
Oh, make another game.
Make another game.
I don't. For me personally, when I see a 3D fighter where you're on a 3D plane instead of just a side-scrolling plane, I get less excited.
I'll get instantly bored because I know it's dog shit.
But it doesn't have to be. And Tekken has demonstrated that, right? Tekken isn't on a side-scrolling thing.
Well, Tekken is. I mean, those anime ones that we're talking about. They're 3D, but they do that thing where it's like someone is in the foreground, someone's in the background, and obviously that causes like a lot of problems. But Tekken obviously is a 3D fighter where it's like we're both side to side, but we're in a 3D plane where we can move around. And I don't know, I just I definitely feel like anime games are made to be made quickly and to make that cool thing happen. So it's like, remember that one time when Naruto fought Sasuke and then Naruto hit him with the Rasengan, and the Rasengan only kind of did damage, but then you saw the other side of the water tower, and you're like...
They're so... I'm glad you brought that up, because those anime games are so obsessed with the moment-to-moment thing, where they're like, you remember that one scene where Naruto's hair was slightly disleveled? Mm-hmm. Well, now you unlocked disleveled hair Naruto.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that. You don't have to make that a fucking costume. That's not a character.
You know what, though? It's better as a costume than a paid DLC.
Okay.
But not even as a costume. Sometimes you... Like, for instance, have you played the newest Dragon Ball Z game?
Executioner.
I stopped at Budokai on PlayStation 2.
So the most recent one, Executioner, was on, the recent consoles. Yeah. There is, 8 Gokus. That is not a joke. There is,
Is that the exact number?
There's a lot.
Do you know what? I'm,
No, you guys keep talking, I'll look it up.
Okay.
There's a lot.
What's the motherfucker from, Joe Rogan's podcast?
Jamie?
Jamie, look that up.
Okay.
Jamie, look that up. But holy shit, though. There's... And, okay, so the old Budokai games where it's, they're, janky and maybe, not as, tournament friendly, but it's, the way those games worked is you played as a Goku, and Goku could turn into Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3. But instead, for, the most latest game, we'll make this Goku a different Goku, and they'll make this Goku a different Goku, and they'll have, 8 Gokus.
No, yeah, it's, little, 8 different fighters. I'm like, is there any, real moveset difference here, or, is there any, reason... Other than I want the long hair guy, long hair Goku.
It says there are 5.
That's still a lot.
I mean, 5 of one guy though. It's.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, to be fair, Smash Brothers has 3 links, but those are very different links. I understand them.
At the very least, they look like different motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Well, and they also play a little bit differently, I think.
I can understand Kid Goku and normal Goku. That's what I understand.
Fine.
That's enough for me.
That's Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball is. That's where you get the
at most, usually it's like in Tekken, especially, it's where you get maybe one fighter that's a copy of another fighter typically, and they're usually just sort of this super secret thing, like Ogre in Tekken 3 or something like that, or whatever the hell, like Tekken Tag Tournament had one or two like that as well, you know, where it's like a king and the other guy with the fucking lion head or cheetah head.
Oh yeah, that's Iron
they're-
King.
Yeah, like aren't they pretty similar?
They're similar. They have their own differences,
still-
especially
okay.
in Tekken 7.
I still think
Gotcha.
it's crazy that Negan is in Tekken, and even though I think he should have been, my personal preference is he should have been in Mortal Kombat, and I also think it's crazy that Negan is a Magic the Gathering card.
Which I can't believe they did. I can't believe that they
Are you
did
serious?
that.
He's actually Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
card?
no, he is.
He's a Magic
I
the
saw it.
Gathering.
I thought it was Photoshop.
Oh my
Apparently,
God.
Magic the Gathering is doing this crossover thing, which I think is really cool. But at the same time, is Magic the Gathering owned by Wizards of the Coast?
Yes.
So, okay, and
I was gonna make the
Thing-
joke, but I decided to show restraint. But thank you for unlocking the.
Pandora's box here. We're going there. No, we most certainly are. The Wizards of the Coast is afraid to lift its fingers and not hurt somebody, but they're willing to cross over into these properties that have a lot of power and presence.
That are all about hurting people.
And that's just it. Is, you know, I love card games. I love tabletop, but I increasingly feel like it is a medium that is hard to approach at all because I'm going to hurt someone. And maybe not actually hurt someone. People will pretend like they're hurt if I approach these things.
Well, how about you contextualize that? What are you talking about exactly? What are people mad about?
People are, that's a question with a lot to unpack. But
Everything.
so here's the thing: is
People are just mad, bro.
if you were here's the thing: a handful of years ago, I had friends, you know, like Executioner here. We would say things to the effect of, "I don't get involved in politics; it's annoying." Okay, fair enough. You know, sure. I mean, there's always serious issues going on in the world. People could chastise you for saying you should get involved with serious stuff. But if we lived in a culture where we would all just, you know, pick at each other for not participating in serious things over entertainment things, then we would always be talking about serious things instead of entertainment things because serious stuff is always going on. You know, but we should be able to, you know, step aside and enjoy ourselves. But the thing is, it's getting harder and harder to ignore because people in the tabletop community and the gaming community are obsessed with this culture where people aren't doing enough for representation, for race, or any other thing. And for me personally, I feel like racism or anything to that effect is not hard to detect. It is not a thing you have to go deep under the surface to uncover. It is a thing where if you see it, you can call it out. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. That person will, you know, be exposed to the consequences of their actions, sure, and they will be chastised for it. Fair enough. But people are going a step further and saying that, you know, orcs in Dungeons and Dragons have racial features that are I mean, maybe some interpretations of orcs do, sure. But they'll say that orcs have features that are reminiscent of living races, and that if you use orcs in your campaign, you are a racist person. And we are moving from the realm of fun and more into the realm of we're going through a landmine field where if your friend accidentally trips over the landmine, you can call them out and say, you can turn them in and get points for your friends. You can say, oh, well, Abe or Executioner, they accidentally or they purposely said the racist thing or the, you know, minor, affecting thing. They said the bad thing, and I could turn them in and get the points.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying.
So how did we get to this place? And and have you guys experienced this in your own lives? What can we do to maybe move away from it? What is it? Like,
Not even remotely.
you haven't seen it. You haven't seen it in your normal life. Well,
No, because I surround myself with people who aren't retarded. Sorry for people out
So
there
how
if you're, but yes.
So
if
how
you
did
get
I
worked
end up
up
in
over something in a fictitious universe, people out there, whatever 6, 12, whatever number we're on for whoever the fuck's listening, if you get worked up over fiction, you're retarded. I'm sorry. Fiction. Look up the very definition of the word. It is not real.
So
It is distance from reality. If it makes you uncomfortable, that is perfectly fine.
So
But don't go out there and, throw your viewpoint onto everyone else.
So I have a strong counterpoint to this. Is you said you don't surround yourself with people who are retarded, but I am in your stratosphere. So how did that?
There are different levels of retardation.
So I am in the acceptable level.
Barely.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay.
You just made the cut.
Just, okay, so now I understand, yes, it is getting harder and harder because as these viewpoints get more and more widespread and more people adopt them, it does become harder and harder. And what you need to do is try to find a solid, if just specifically talking about tabletop things, but really you could apply it to other aspects of life as well. You need to find a solid group of people. I would rather have 5 go-getters that I know are like tight, like, you know, fucking just tight than 30 people who are flaky, you know. But it's like, oh, but I technically know, like, just the reason I haven't experienced it is because I've had what I would consider to be a fairly solid, sizable group of people that I can choose from, who all of us either A, have similar viewpoints, or B, disagree on many viewpoints, but are able to set that aside for fiction, and therefore able to enjoy ourselves in a fictitious setting. Like, yes, it's fine to draw the line. There's nothing wrong with figuring out, like, what is and is not okay with your little group, but I don't think, because at the end of the day, as much as I would attest that it doesn't matter what Wizards of the Coast, it doesn't matter what fucking Paizo changes about their game, at the end of the day, you can still decide to put that stuff in your world and universe, but where I take offense to it mostly is when they start taking all this stuff out, it becomes more of an uphill battle for you yourself when it's not already there in the, and contextualized for you. It's like, and there's something, you know, it's good to be creative, but there comes a point where there are certain things you just want to be there and established that you want to use. And then there are things that you want to make up on your own and intermingle them with what is already established, but the less they establish or change, the harder it is and more of an uphill battle you have to re-establish something in a setting for people.
Which, by the way, the thing that they did, by the way, Wizards of the Coast, they took away the negative modifiers for the orc. So the orc just now has positive modifiers for his racial bonuses. So the thing that sucks about that is, I saw people in the comments who were like, well, now you won't be pigeonholed to when you make an orc character to make them a fighter. Well, no, actually that means you're a shitty player. You actually you never learn how to play D&D well, and that's not your fault, you're just stupid. So part of having fun with D&D is like, oh man, maybe I'll make a kobold, like this weak ass kobold, but I'll still make him a fighter, because I don't know, maybe I'm creative and I can have fun ideas. But I can understand.
Like that 18, right? You know, like you rolled that 118 or whatever. You're like, oh, fuck it, why not? You know, like let's just have. There's nothing wrong with having some fun. You don't gotta do.
But I do understand seeing it as a problem if you're just not a creative fuck. You know what I mean? Like that is understandable. Like,
absolutely, if it's like
if you're just a bad writer, I get it.
Let me extend an olive branch. You have
just be mean.
You have interpretations of races and people in old Looney Tunes cartoons that have so little subtlety and such exaggerated characteristics that no reasonable person would look at that and say, that's not racist. That is not the vibe that I gathered from seeing orcs in D&D, in books, in monster manuals, in anything. Imagine if every time you tried to play D&D, an overly strict Christian mother burst into the room and said, don't be racist.
I mean, they did do that in the 80s, except it was stop worshipping Satan.
Yeah.
And they would burn your books.
Yeah. And so imagine
80s, 70s,
imagine that happens every time you try and play D&D. What is everyone going to be thinking about? We're not going to be in this calm place where we can just enjoy games. We're going to be in this place where everybody's kind of almost paranoid, because people are constantly shouting at them not to break the rules. So we're in this culture where people are they're trying so hard to avoid this thing that they might not have even been in the first place, but they're used to being associated with that because people online are screaming at them, that they've developed this almost irrational fear of being that thing. And again, it's hard to argue this point, because the opposition labels itself as anti-racist. You know,
I would also argue it's hard to argue the point because that point right there is more or less moot unless you are A, gaming for a convention, or B, an internet personality who is very popular and gaming for a very wide audience. Otherwise, you are more or less like, you are moot to those arguments. Unless you are, again, someone who allows themselves to be like, you know, if you feel like personally attacked, it's kind of like that thing where if you're like at work, you know, and like someone's angry, and they're sort of like yelling. It's like it's just one of those things that it's like it's not necessarily like a personal thing, and sometimes yes, it is a personal thing, but you can't sit there and like take it personally in a sense of the thing. It's like you just, you know, you gotta just man up, puff your chest out a little bit, and just take it. You know, like, you know, just because like you run a game, you and your friends had fun. It's like you shouldn't go online and then like someone says one thing that's contrary to what you did and be like, oh, that's suddenly like, that should not ruin your experience. But that's a personal person thing. You can't let the sheep ruin your personal experiences. That's really what it comes down to. You're either someone who can distance themselves from that, or you aren't. And that's really all it comes down to.
I think that's one instance where I might be more socially smart than most people, is if someone comes at me online screaming in my face. I inherently can't take it as seriously as if Abe or you were screaming in my face. Because if one of you two was screaming in my face, I would take that a lot more seriously because you guys know me more than those people.
Well, sure, yeah.
I don't think... now, you say, oh, sure, and you know, I agree. It's obvious. But a lot of people don't think that's obvious. They will look at these online comments, and the fact that it's written instead of spoken gives it a bigger authority to them subconsciously or consciously. And they will, you know, they'll take it to the bank. They will be worse for wear because of it.
Hey, for those of you out there, if that happens to you, guess what? Sucks to suck. Sorry.
Well, I think also just people just see, like, somebody says something like, well, he has 100 followers. He must mean something.
It sucks that all of this online negativity exists. And I really wish that it didn't, because it would just leave more room to talk about the games themselves. You know, some channels come through and they just talk about the games. This is a very out there tangent. It's not an elegant tangent into a new subject, but I do want to go there anyway. Executioner. There is Executioner, and maybe Abe even. There is a game that you and me love. That the world does not love as much, but you and me love it, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you'll vouch for it. It's Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, I like Dark Souls 2. It's flawed, but I like it.
Now here's the thing.
I wouldn't say the world doesn't like it. It seems that way. I think Dark Souls 2, especially now, it was kind of like a Metal Gear Solid 2 thing, but maybe not as extreme. Where
did Metal Gear Solid 2 go through a similar?
Oh hell yeah!
So with Dark Souls 2, we have this roller coaster of the game comes out and it has its fans, and then it has a very vocal fan base who dislike a lot of the changes made for Dark Souls 2. But I think especially now, Metal Gear Solid 2 didn't have it in the same amount as Dark Souls 2 did, but as we get like more and more Dark Souls games, like, you know, your Bloodborne, your Sekiro, even though it's not like necessarily a Dark Souls game, whatever, but, you know, like Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, etc. Dark Souls 2, like, suddenly a lot of these things start to shine so much more. Like, so like Dark Souls 2 comes out, right? And like, yes, it had like some insane build diversity, and yes, like in that build diversity, there are some things that are very annoying, like your javelins when the game first came out, and your ability to like buff a Moonlight Sword, or the Moonlight Sword, you know, with like Crystal Magic Weapon or whatever, and get like a double buff with an Arty Magic Weapon. That's just insane.
One thing in particular, I remember you. I don't mean to cut you off, but you and me, I heard you talking about this with another one of our friends early on, and it was that when Dark Souls 2 first came out, there was some weird issue where damage was calculated for like each half frame that the weapon
Oh, that's not when it came out. That is right now. That is how the game is designed.
But you're talking about the durability.
So you said... So I don't remember the exact details, but the main takeaway from this discussion was that the damage values for this game were dependent on something to involve with latency and how the weapon stayed inside the model.
No, that wasn't... So that's durability. So... Every time your weapon kind of passes through a hitbox or enters a hitbox, you lose durability. That's how it's calculated. But it's tied to frame rate. Yeah. So when you have on PC, when Dark Souls 2 released on PC, you would have weapons like your Ultra Greatswords and whatnot that would have very massive vertical swings and stay on the ground for a while, or like spears, for instance, especially spear weapons. If you hit even like a pile of corpses, because like this multiplies. So if you have like 8 corpses on the ground and your weapon goes through all 8 corpses, it's like, let's say you hit a corpse and your durability goes down by 1 point. If you hit 8, suddenly you're down 8 for 1 swing. Now, if your weapon, for every like tick that your weapon stays there, that's more durability loss. And the problem specifically with that, other than the obvious of your weapon breaks, there was a very infamous weapon in Dark Souls 2 called Santier's Spear. We called it Santier's Queer after a while because it got very annoying. So there was a spear that acted like a spear until you broke it. And when you broke it, it had a new moveset.
Oh, fuck, I remember this
Yes, yep. And so when you broke Santier's Spear, you had this new, like, moveset that was very easy to stunlock people with. Because poise, you know, we got rid of poise, I guess, after Dark Souls 1 for whatever reason. We didn't get rid of it, but, like, the way it worked was so asinine. But, so, you would take Santier's Spear, break it, and then make it mundane or something like that. And then suddenly, as long as all of your stats were the same, you just get into, like, 20 in every stat. You had this, like, insane weapon that would never break because it's already broken, so durability isn't an issue. Insanely good at stun locking, and did not take all that much stamina to do that. Which, even if it did, it didn't matter. All your stats are the same. You're good at everything.
That was the spear with like the rock on it or something, right?
Yes, sir.
And it is the modern landscape of video games that allows us to edit out these weird quirks and keep the ones that we like. There is a unreasonable amount of human enemies in Dark Souls 2. And to the game's detriment, but you and me, we like the human enemies and we like them. But the thing that I think most people will not forgive about Dark Souls 2 is that when you consider Dark Souls 1, think about any angle the player can look at. Think about when a player in Dark Souls 1 opens up the door to the first boss in that game for the first time, where if they look up, they will see the Asylum Demon looking down on them. That is a very calculated, very thought-filled perspective that the devs put in there. Dark Souls 2 is not that game. There are so many shots in Dark Souls 2 where you can think of the player looking around and it is repeated textures, it is awkward level design. I love it personally, warts and all. Lots of people will not forgive it for these weird, I want to say compromised game design decisions.
Well, Clay, you're saying that you have a problem with a windmill on fire getting rid of poison in a room with a Medusa? Do you think that's weird?
Well, that cuts on something me and Executioner talked about earlier, where it has a big fetish. I understand that it could be to the game's detriment that the windmill and the RPG elements are so involved, but to me, I would say that I personally like it.
There's nothing wrong, whether or not you like it or don't. It's perfectly fine.
Okay.
You know, there are people out there who dislike it, and there are people out there, you know, who very much enjoy it. Like, you know,
why
it has
funny?
It has its share of problems, for sure, but it's, you know, especially nowadays, there are a lot of quality of life things that they still haven't done since Dark Souls 2 that just sort of baffles me, like,
right.
The ladder sprinting, or, like, they do have that in, like, later games, but, like Dark Souls 2 is, like, there was, to me, like, this, like, very clear difference when you were either going up a ladder fast or not. Whereas later games, like, you can still do it, but it doesn't really feel any faster. Like, it is, but it doesn't like look or feel that way. Or like in Dark Souls 2, the inventory system where
that's awesome.
You see your character on like the right side of the screen and you see your changes in like real time. Like, oh, it's just little things like that. Or again, the build diversity, like, you know, crazy amount of items in Dark Souls 2. Like,
it's quirky.
Is it all like perfect? No, but you know, I like my options. You know, Dark Souls 2 definitely gave like a lot of options.
It was, you know, people always talk about when they were growing up and games they're nostalgic about. Me personally, I'm nostalgic about games that came out 8 years ago. Maybe that says something to the human. Maybe that says something about the human mind, where we're never satisfied in the present, but we're always romanticizing the past. But for me personally, I'm nostalgic about Dark Souls 2. I never played Dark Souls 2 much when it came out vanilla, but when Scholar of the First Sin came out and it was on Xbox One, I played the crap out of it. I loved it when they changed the enemy placements and stuff like that.
I hate that nostalgia about Oblivion. That's like a PS3 game.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that Xbox?
I hate that.
But think about it this way, though. It also came out 14 years ago.
Don't say that though.
Don't say that out loud. You are not allowed to say that
It came
loud.
out
14
came out
years
like
ago, my
came
man.
out like
Abe,
3 years ago.
Abe, get the dagger.
I got the
He
dagger.
is doing that free thought.
I've
that
got
we
the
don't
glass
like.
dagger.
Free thought is a crime, sir.
Yeah,
You are not allowed to do that.
It is really kind of crazy to think about. You know how it's just like
That was
bam.
timist of him. That was timist.
Yeah, right. It's-
When you add ist to the end of everything, it gives us an advantage
Yep.
socially, right?
Absolutely.
no, this is gonna get your Twitter cred, but no, like it
Yeah,
is
that
kinda
that
crazy
one
just,
guy
like,
who's
think
gonna be
about-
like, I'm gonna reblog this. That one person. Yeah.
You heard what you
And
heard
hey-
what these guys said about Dark Souls 2, didn't you?
Besides all the other autistic bullshit we're saying, I guarantee you at the very least, you know, you get enough shit said on camera or on mic in this case, in however long this is going to be. At the very least, we're also feeding the internet people that can't think for themselves, you know, and they just want to point to like a specific section in a video or a piece of thing, and they go, "This."
And that's it. It's not that. It will never be that simple. I would love to point to one object in the universe and say that was the source of all my insecurities. But I can't. I'm sure Executioner would love to point to Final Fantasy 13 and say that that was the source of every piece of unhappiness he's ever had.
It was the source of a lot of them. I'm not gonna.
It was the source of 80% of it, but not all.
Source of my
No, okay.
unhappiness.
So, let me- So, I'm going to share a funny story. I might have shared it with you, Abe. But I was talking to Executioner about how I have a deep-rooted... My insecurity interferes with my love of games a lot, and I hate that. But I was telling Executioner that I get lost in RPGs a lot, and I hate that. And I said that I probably wouldn't even be able to enjoy Final Fantasy 13. And he said... He didn't say anything. He started typing in his laptop, and he pulled up a map of Final Fantasy 13. And he pulled up a map of one of the levels, and it was like a
3 of the levels, actually.
3 of the levels, and it was a zigzagging hallway.
You don't get lost in that.
You cannot get lost in it.
There aren't random encounters. They're all scripted. You go forward, you hit them, and then you keep moving. And for the most part, you can't avoid them. I mean, there's a point where you can't avoid encounters, and you're like, I gotta go back and do the busy work if you're trying to just get through the game. But they pace these out, and none of this is like original speak. 10,000 people have already done this way better than I can, and I'm not going to get into this game hardly, but it's just, you know, you get into these encounters that are hand placed there with no variation, no randomness. Not that I like random encounters, God forbid, but it's like, you're not like dungeon crawling and suddenly like an enemy group pops up and then you can decide whether or not you want to engage it. No, you are literally like, every time you play that game, you will be going one direction, and there will be the exact same enemies, and the exact same placement, in the exact same groups, every single time, and there are the exact amount of them that you need to be at the exact place the game wants you to be for every story beat until, like, the 7/8 point. And to me, that's just not a fun game. Like,
Holy
it's not a good RPG.
Holy shit, I just made a comparison. You know what the fucking Final Fantasy 13 trilogy reminds me of?
Garbage.
No. Everyone, I don't remember a single person talking about positive. I remember a single person talking about that they liked it, and yet they just kept breaking out. They made 3 of them. It reminds me so much of the Star Wars trilogy, the most recent one. No one likes Rey. No one ever said they liked Rey. Lightning is like the same as Rey. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it kind of.
I just thought
Yeah.
no one ever. They made 3 Final Fantasy 13s, and I never heard anyone go like. I mean, literally, I never heard anyone go like, "Oh man, I cannot wait till Final Fantasy 13 comes out. I cannot wait until Final Fantasy 13 3 comes out."
But Devil's Advocate Executioner. Final Fantasy X is a beloved game, and it's very linear. What separates Final Fantasy X from Final Fantasy 13? Do you just hate women and you're trying to mask this as a...
Well, I do.
No,
but
don't
I'm not the
don't laugh,
executioner.
because this isn't a funny issue.
Yes, it is. Listen to my laughter. Okay, Final Fantasy X.
It's a very
lot of
linear
people
game,
dislike-
but you haven't been chastising it like you have Final Fantasy 13. What's wrong with you?
Well, I mean, there's a lot wrong.
Well,
with
just the
me,
women just
but-
aren't as hot as they are in 10.
all right,
Like, you've seen Lulu?
Let's
No,
talk.
Yuna is hotter.
Let's talk 10.
Wrong.
I mean, no, she isn't. Lulu's way better. But let's talk 10 for just a moment here.
She got them milk
So-
points. She got them dick pillows.
Let me start with personal experience, 10 was my first Final Fantasy.
Same.
Bam.
Same.
So let's get that out of the way. So
Same.
yes, there's going to be a little bit, not that I can't go back and look at it, because there is a lot to complain about with 10, but I think 10 carried me more for a few key reasons. One, Titus, as much as I hate him whenever he talks, I know his name is technically pronounced Titus, but I think that's...
Is that how it's technically pronounced?
Yes, no, straight up. In Dissidia, whenever
that's awful.
Whenever he's... Exactly, that's why I just stick with Titus. It's like, try to not keep this whatever. But, so Titus, he's very annoying and whatnot, but he is a fantastic audience surrogate. I don't know shit about Spira. I don't know fuck all about Sin. Titus, like me, knows nothing. Like fuck all. Like, so he's great for that. Like, combat system overall is, I think, more, like, responsive, more engaging, more, just... It has problems, yes, but it's snappy, it's fast, like, there's no, like, random flashy bullshit. Yes, there's flashy bullshit, but it's not like 13 where your characters are, like, walking around constantly like it means anything, like, it's not like that's the problem with 13, but...
I haven't played 13, and a lot of people listening to this haven't. What is 13's combat? Is it like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it's
I hardly remember. It's like action bar based. Your bar fills up, you tell your characters to do things, but the best thing is the first... So in 10, right, it's like you get your attack, your defend, your item, your magic. 13's very first menu option is just, like, optimal. So all you gotta do is hit that button and it will fill up all your action bar for you with the best moves you can do.
Really?
So there is, like, no reason to go out of your way. Like, you might have to use an item here or there, but otherwise it's just X item. And then all you have to do is occasionally hit a button to switch up your paradigm or whatever, so, like, you have different strengths and weaknesses, like, I need buffs, or, like, I need defense. Whereas 10, it's like, bam, you swap out a character who has a different strength or whatever. But then also, like, so 10 just, 10, like, draws me in way more. Like, 13, like, you have this interesting, like, setup. At least I think it's interesting. I couldn't really tell you, because the game doesn't really tell you. It kind of gives you, like, a basic setup, which, it's basic. You kind of get behind it.
Yeah, it is very main character.
But when you start getting the nitty-gritty, which is necessary for a 30, 40, X amount of hour plus RPG, like, you really gotta be on point, with drawing someone in. Now, the music's fine in 13, whatever, give or take. The graphics are fine, they're great for the time, whatever, like, things are pretty. But, I don't know, there's just, like, this lack of substance in 13. Like, 10, you got the random encounters, which, yes, they're annoying, but at least it's not like, okay, I'm in a literal straight hallway. Like, even 10's linear parts, which are most of the game, at least they're, like, kind of proper dungeons a lot of the time, or at least proper feeling dungeons. That might just be nostalgia speaking, but I remember at least it wasn't literally a hallway with a couple random paths here or there with a treasure chest. 10, it's like, okay, you're having problems, you can at least kind of go back, get some enemies a little bit. Like, 13, it's just, you never really have problems because the game isn't balanced for you to have problems. There's no, like, I don't know, like, some people might say 10 is, like, super easy too. I don't know, really, your mileage may vary.
Well, here's the thing, is devil's advocate. Final Fantasy 13, as audacious as it is.
Audacious.
If that's how you pronounce that.
It's audacious.
As audacious as it is, it was not audacious enough that it had Blitzball or the Temple Trials.
That's a good point. Those are the best parts of the game.
And that is a huge boon to Final Fantasy 13.